Hello everybody and welcome to DLR Libraries Storytime. My name is Dolores Keaveney and I write and illustrate my own picture books, and today I'm going to read If I Were a Bee. And it's all about pollination. So I'll go ahead and read it for you now. If I were a bee, I'd dance on the sunflowers, their big yellow faces as bright as the sun, hopping and buzzing and twirling for hours. In those big bright flowers, I would have so much fun. If I were a bee, I'd fly to a poppy field full of big bright red poppies for miles and for miles. I would drink all the nectar I could fit in my tummy from those big bright red poppies with those big bright red smiles. If I were a bee, I would fly to a meadow to collect up some nectar from each beautiful flower. I would turn it to honey in my hive. Just one sip would bring you alive. If I were a bee, I would live in a beehive. My brothers and sisters would all live there too. We would work very hard, making combs for our honey to bring big jars of goodness to each one of you. If I were a bee, I would work for hours in and out of the garden flowers, the foxgloves, daisies, and sweet pea too, collecting up nectar to make honey for you. If I were a bee, I would buzz around the foxgloves. Their pretty pink flowers fit me like a glove. I would have so much fun in and out of each flower. Those pretty pink foxgloves give their pollen with love. If I were a bee, I would fly with my friends to a bed of red tulips so big and so bold, drinking nectar and pollen from each of the flowers. Those big bright red tulips are a sight to behold. If I were a bee, I would call on a fuchsia. Its big bright flowers would welcome me in. I would feed on its nectar until I was bursting. Thank you, dear fuchsia. I will call again. If I were a bee, I would play in an apple tree. With my brothers and sisters, I would have so much fun. We would spend all day pollinating the blossoms so you can have apples kissed by the sun. If I were a bee, I would sleep in a poppy. Its big bright petals would cuddle me in. I would dream of new places to work and to play, and wake in the morning to a bright, sun-shining new day. If I were a bee, I would fly to the clouds. I would twirl, I would buzz, I would feel very free. I would fly to the meadows, the flowers and the trees. I could do all those things if I were a bee. Thank you.